All right, another Bold and Blonde podcast. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've seen Melody and since we've done a podcast, and we have just a really kind of a different podcast going on today. We are not going to delve into our lives as much, right? Or any like
pop culture or...
We ain't talking about Diddy today. And
oh boy.
Well, that we'll have to save that for next week.
Oh, there's so many things that we want to say about him. But anyway, but we are here with a very special guest today.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Courtney Bieber, by the way.
And I'm Melody Judge.
And we have Dawn Fiedler with us. I met Dawn a couple weeks ago now at another event raising money for Inspiration Ministries here in Walworth County. And she looked at me and she said, "Are you Courtney?" And I'm like, "You're Dawn. We're Facebook friends." And she's Facebook friends with you already too, Melody. And it's from back in the day when we were on the air, on radio. And, you know, she mentioned what she does. And I didn't realize this, that you were the one, Dawn, that, you know, was behind JTM, Join the Movement, Stop Human Trafficking. And then it's like everything, it was like, oh, like a light went on.
Kind of clicks.
Like, that's who, you know, I knew about this, JTM. But I didn't know that we were already Facebook friends, that you were you're the founder of the, so it was just like, oh my gosh. I said, you have to be on our podcast. You have to. Like, I didn't even give her an option to say no. She went running and screaming from me.
and Courtney followed you, Dawn, like out of the event and into the parking lot and finally stopped you and said, "No, people need to know. We want to help you get the word out about your mission, and tell us a little bit about yourself. And first of all, welcome to Bold and Blonde."
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. She didn't have to chase me far. For a start, I don't run.
No.
Oh, gosh.
Same here.
Oh, I'm in good company then, because we're all the same.
Yep.
We're in good company.
Yes.
So I started Join the Movement back in 2017. I am a part of the Oakland Rotary Club. Do you know what Rotary is?
Yep.
So Rotary was, they'd asked me to be the president of the club. And as part of that preparation, they sent me to the district conference. Now, I don't know if you know much about Rotarians, but they do like to have fun. And it was the Saturday morning, and all of the workshops, they had these amazing workshops, and they were all full. I have very bad knees. Standing in the back of a workshop for 2 hours was not going to work for me. So I had two choices.
Sure.
There was a workshop on human trafficking that had about 12 people in it, or I could go back to my room and take a nap, because you know what Rotarians are like.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I went to the workshop on human trafficking.
Now, we're glad you did.
It changed my life.
Yeah.
I am from England originally. And my family, I have family all over the world, in Spain, Germany, England, Australia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Canada, and the United States. So I knew that there was such a thing as human trafficking. I didn't understand the difference between trafficking and smuggling at that time, and I thought it was all kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I sat in that workshop, and I couldn't even close my mouth. I was just stunned by what I was learning. And in 2017, I learned that Wisconsin was number 3 in the nation.
Doesn't it just make you sick?
It does.
Very much so.
And shocking a little bit, but we're so close to major cities and a major thoroughfare right through the United States,
Chicago, Beloit, Rockford,
Madison,
Minneapolis, the small of America. They come through Eau Claire, through Mausden, Toma, all through Madison into Chicago. As long as they can get in and out of our state within 2 hours, that makes it a very highly desirable place to be. But we also are bordered by Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. So they utilize the ports as well.
Jeez. I didn't even think of that.
I didn't either.
Oh, wow.
You just think of highways.
Plus, we are a huge tourist destination. We've got Lake Geneva, we've got the Dells, we've got Door County, we've got all these beautiful places. I mean, truly, Wisconsin is God's country, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. We're smack dab right in the middle of so many things.
It's beautiful. Plus, we have major sports teams. We have the Packers, the Bucks, and the Brewers. They are huge draws for human trafficking.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about
events.
that. Okay.
Large sporting events. So I was shocked when I started learning more and more, and I was getting involved in more and more, going to more conferences, workshops, and then I was a part of the task force to prepare for the Ryder Cup. And it was there that I learned that the Ryder Cup is actually known as the Super Bowl for human trafficking.
Stop it.
What?
Golf.
What? So explain why, how, when, where, what? Like, I have all the questions.
I know.
When we started that task force, we were meeting in Milwaukee, and it was all of the whole southern and eastern part of Wisconsin, all of these different organizations. And I'm going to say there were anywhere from 15 to 20 different organizations meeting every 3 months to prepare for the Ryder Cup 2 years beforehand. Mm-hmm. And at that point, they had already sold 150,000 tickets 2 years before it was coming to Wisconsin.
Jeez.
And they're here for a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's a demand.
Yep.
So what are they going to do to fill that demand? They're going to start bringing girls in and boys to be sold to fill that demand because they're away from home. 150,000 people 2 years before. I don't know how many actually did come because then the pandemic hit and the Ryder Cup was postponed for a year. And I was in the process at that point. I got married and, I moved in with my husband in Minnesota for a year because, it really works well to live together.
Right.
That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It worked well for us.
Yeah.
And so I was, in this whole transition, I was kind of running things, back and forth, commuting 5.5 hours each way. But everything shut down anyway because of the pandemic. So the Ryder Cup was postponed a year, and I kind of got out of that loop. So I don't really know how many tickets were officially sold by the time it came the following year.
That's staggering, those numbers that you just threw out there. I mean, where does it start? How does it start?
And
so it's that triangle. It's, you've got your supplier, your demand,
right,
and your victim. So what do you think feeds that demand? This is going to shock you.
Evil. It's just evilness.
Well, it is. It is a dark world we live in.
Money.
Pornography.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole side
That's
of,
it.
right.
There you go. It's all about the money. So human trafficking around the world is a $150 billion industry around the world. $150 billion. So the average victim can bring in anywhere of $150,000 to $300,000 a year to their trafficker. So that grooming process where they're gaining their trust will take as long as it takes because the financial gain is worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And can we call that trafficker? Is it basically, are you a pimp?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I know pimp is used a lot in joking and stuff like that, but that's basically what they are.
That's exactly what they are.
Wow. And just to recap, this is happening in our own backyard. We need to care about this, not just because it happens in our own backyard, but I want to broaden people's horizons. This isn't just happening overseas you had mentioned Sri Lanka, and it's not just
Thailand.
It's
here.
in back alleys and stuff like that. It's happening everywhere, and
right here in Wisconsin.
Our own children.
Right, exactly.
And that is another reason why Wisconsin is so desirable, is because we're so trusting.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're
Midwest nice.
I guess.
We are Midwest nice. Some people don't even lock their doors at night.
Yep.
We are a very trusting community.
So tell us some stories. Tell us what people really need to know about trafficking and how it starts and what to look out for.
So it used to be when I did some training with the FBI, and they showed us a video of a trafficker who was dead to rights. He was going away for a very long time. He was wandering around the interview room talking to the agent who was interviewing him. And he said, I used to go to the mall and I'd look for the group of girls. They were all, you knew they were together because they were dressed alike. Mm-hmm. And they're usually, in 2x2s. There could be 6, there could be 8, 9, 7. And there's usually one at the end. And the one at the end is probably the younger sister of one of the girls in the front. Mm-hmm. Mom said, you can go to the mall, but you have to take your sister with you.
Wow.
Yep.
And she'd be in the back and she'd be just walking along. She'd be on her cell phone. She'd be looking at her feet and not really a part of what's going on. And I would just go up to her and I'd give her a compliment. And I would just say something like, oh, the pink of your shirt, it just brings out the sparkling blue in your eyes. Mm-hmm. If she looks at me and she acknowledges that compliment, I will leave her alone. But if she doesn't even acknowledge the compliment, that's my next victim, because I've just identified her vulnerability, and it's her self-esteem.
Oh my gosh. We just had like a...
That's so weird because...
A lesson in, I can't even think of the name.
Like a light bulb went out. Like I would have thought it would be the opposite.
Right.
I would have thought that it would be the opposite until you just said, until you said that.
But that makes sense.
They are looking for the vulnerabilities of their victims. So now social media has become the new mall.
Right.
Social media has made it so much easier for these traffickers, predators, pimps, whatever you want to call them. I call them scum.
I have some choice words too.
Right.
They will do whatever it takes, number one, to find that vulnerability. So, TikTok is huge, and it became even bigger after the pandemic when everybody was home. Mm-hmm. So now you've got, your kids and your parents, everybody's on TikTok, and you've got your 13-year-old who is doing her favorite hip hop song, a video dance routine to it, right? Mm-hmm. She's putting it out there, and she gets 2,000 likes. Do you think she's feeling pretty special right now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. So the trafficker will see that video, and he'll think, oh, she's kind of cute. I wonder what her vulnerabilities are. He already knows where she is, mm-hmm. because the video has her IP and her GPS address already embedded in it. And he already knows where she is.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Right.
So now he's looking at that and saying, she's kind of cute. I wonder what her vulnerability is. So he will send her an anonymous note, because mm-hmm. it's all anonymous on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And he'll say, hey, you're really good. Yeah. I like your moves. Mm-hmm. I bet if you do another video and you show some of your midriff, I mean, he doesn't use that. I'm old school.
But yeah.
You show, some of your skin.
Yeah.
I bet you'll get 5,000 likes. Now, she's 13 years old. Do you think she's going to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There was a special on Netflix, and I don't know if it was based on a true story, but it was exactly what you're describing. And the young girl was in the, I don't know if it was documentary. I don't think it was documentary, but in this movie, it ruined her college career, mm-hmm. college education, and her friends. And I mean, thankfully she was, her parents really found out kind of at the last minute. But talk about that. What can parents do if your kids are on social media? I have a 2-part question. And some of the social marketer influencers really do a lot with their young children on TikTok, mm-hmm. which scares the living daylights out of me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and let me just finish that story real quick too, mm-hmm. before we move on, because he comes back and he sees that she's done exactly what he suggested. Mm-hmm. So now he's identified her self-esteem. Mm-hmm. She wants to be popular.
Yep.
So what do you think he's looking for now?
A date? Or I don't
he's
even...
He's looking for ways to identify her. What is that poster that's behind her? Is that the Elkhorn Area High School volleyball team? If I go to that volleyball game, will I find her there? What about the 2 boys if they're skateboarding down the center of Court Street onto Wisconsin?
Yeah.
He sees the street signs. He's got the GPS and the IP address embedded in the video already. He knows there's a coffee shop on that corner. If he goes and sits in that coffee shop, will he see them again? Or should he go to the skate park in the town next door? Will he see them there? He's looking for ways to identify them, and he will look. What does that T-shirt say? Mm-hmm. What?
Any clues?
Any clue to identify who they are.
Well, and then here's the thing. So let's go back, whether it's online or back in the mall when we all went to the mall. How did he just grab them then? Or how do you?
He will gain their trust. He will talk to them about them and get them to open up, and they will start sharing their life with him. And then he will eventually build that wedge between the parent and him. He's the only one that cares about them. They took your cell phone away.
Gotcha.
They won't buy you those Buckleby jeans. Oh, you look really hot in those.
So they
I'll
got
get
they got
those
some
for you.
time. They
They
put
take
some
time.
time and energy and grooming.
Absolutely.
So
Now, is
that's,
this-
sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was
No.
just gonna say this is. I know we're like whoa.
Right. So many
We're-
questions.
This is what you meant by the difference then between smuggling and the other word you'd said. but
Trafficking.
Trafficking. Okay, so smuggling, because we do know that there are people that are stolen.
And
It's not as popular. I mean, it's like 97% of our kids, at least that was the number that I was given at a training I attended a couple of years ago. That could change by now.
Okay.
But 97% of our kids who are trafficked by somebody they know, they love, and they trust.
Oh, okay.
When a child is taken off the street, I'm not saying that they can't be trafficked, because that could very well be the case. But a lot of times it's on a personal level where they want them for themselves in some cases.
that's just so sick.
So, and like I said, those numbers, those stats could be completely different today. Then that's the problem with statistics. They change so frequently.
Right.
It's really hard to keep up with that. But I can tell you this, that the numbers do tell us that in every high school and every middle school across America, there's at least one student who is being groomed or trafficked right now.
Now, the person that is on social media and is looking for their victims, is it the person that is actually going to be trafficking them, or is it the secondary person? Do they have somebody working for them, or
Very much
how
could very
does
well
that tier system go? If you call it that, I don't even know.
It's like a corporation where they have, different levels, and the trafficker he'll have many different layers of people to protect him
Right.
from being arrested. So they'll be the ones that would be arrested.
And they
first
probably
take
get
the
paid on how many that they bring, how many
Absolutely.
girls,
Or
boys,
they get beaten
or right,
if
exactly.
they don't bring in a new girl or a boy.
Okay, so now we've got this 13-year-old girl. He's got this 13-year-old girl, and she's basically, they put a wedge between her and her parents now. Now what does she do? Now she's making money for him somehow?
Yeah,
and-
usually a lot of times they are actually just trafficked right out of their own bedrooms.
And what does that mean? What are they doing?
They're sending nude photos to their trafficker, and he is then selling them on the internet. And he is telling them how much he loves them, that they love him. This is what we do. This is how we do this. This is what love is.
Right. You're going to make money.
Yeah.
Your parents don't, they don't care about you.
He won't even tell them that they're going to make money. They are doing this because they love him.
Okay. Wow.
And, when, I don't know, raise your hand. Did you ever get mad at your mom and dad when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Geez, I just got mad at my mom yesterday.
Stop it. It's her birthday weekend.
It's her birthday today, but I got mad at her yesterday. But I
We love
her
you,
to
MB.
death. Yes.
So when you got mad at your mom and dad, what did you do? This is, I'm old as dirt, so I was born before the internet.
Went in the room and slammed the door.
Or I talked to my best friend.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
Exactly.
I'd be fine
An
the
outlet.
next day, and it's an outlet. You've got your best friend. Well, our youth today are not conversing that way. Yeah. Everything they do is a text. They don't even talk on the phone anymore.
No.
I can remember growing up and talking on the phone for hours.
Oh my gosh.
With a very long cord going around the corner so that I could have a private
We
conversation.
had to get call waiting because I talked so much.
We didn't even have that in my day. We didn't have an answering machine in my day.
Right.
So, and if we weren't home and the phone rang, nobody answered it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes those days are beautiful. I got to tell you.
If you weren't home though, did it really ring? It's like the tree in the forest.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are so right.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, what's happening now, though, is that the kids are putting everything out there. They're putting everything on the internet.
Yeah.
I hate my parents. They don't understand me. They took my cell phone away. They won't buy me those Buckleby jeans or those Ugg boots or whatever it is.
Right.
They don't know me anymore. They don't understand me. And the problem is that these traffickers have algorithms searching specific words, and they get drawn in by that. And they're like, "Oh, baby, your parents don't love you. They took your cell phone away. I'll get you another one because I love you. You can count on me."
And they really do get them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one of the indicators we have, that when we go into the schools and talk to the kids, do they have 2 cell phones? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have an older boyfriend, older girlfriend? And why do they have to call them between every class?
Oh, geez.
And are they waiting for them when they get out of school? Do they have...
well, so now they've met.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And what about their dressing? As far as for the dress,
yes.
the way that they dress
Their
appears,
dressing will
a little bit different, and whether their hairstyle does, or and I would assume their personality.
Well, and
sometimes
a lot of times they'll leave the house wearing the clothes that they're expected to wear and change when they get there. But here's the thing: if we can educate our students, they can see that. They can make the difference, and with their help, with their if they're educated on what to look for, we could make a real difference in ending this in our own community.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, the statistics just came out just a couple of weeks ago. We have to assume, because of these numbers, that in every block in the United States right now, there is somebody who is being groomed and sextorted right now. Every block. In every community.
That's just
There
chilling.
is someone.
Wow.
I'm so glad that you brought up the students, that you're teaching and getting the word out to the students themselves, and maybe that they know what to look for if their friend is suddenly withdrawn or changing in some way.
She
exactly.
suddenly is wearing makeup at school and her nails are done, and she usually doesn't do,
and just drawing and drawing inwardly, and to their own selves, and they're doing whatever they're doing. Yeah.
They go away for a weekend. They don't know where they've been. They can't remember. Was it Madison? No, Milwaukee. Was it Manitowoc? I don't remember. They're very vague in the answers. Well, what did you do when you went away for the weekend? Oh, we just, hung out.
Here's the thing. How did they go somewhere without parents know, or like, how did this?
Because they're going to be lying to their parents.
Yeah.
Or their parents could be the people doing it.
Wow.
Or not the parent. It could be an aunt and uncle. It could be another family member, and the parent might not even realize it.
There's so many layers here, that with just different ways and just a lot of just different information.
And now what if the trafficker, because it's usually a child, but I mean, it goes into their 20s too, people that are trafficked. It go right? I mean, it could be anybody.
I have a friend of mine who was in the FBI at the time. He's no longer. He told me about a sting operation that was up north. There were 114 victims who were rescued. 84 traffickers were arrested. The youngest victim was 3 months old.
Oh my God.
And she was sold with her 5-year-old sister by a family member for drug money. The oldest victim was 68.
Oh,
and and one of the toolkits, I did not bring it to you, is my senior exploitation toolkit. I just did a presentation on Friday to 64 seniors on what that looks like. Because of that sting operation, because he told me about this, is the reason why I wrote that senior exploitation. I have no idea who that 68-year-old person is. They are our most prized possessions.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, everybody that you're describing, babies to elderly, is somebody that could possibly be mentally like Alzheimer's, or could that happen?
It could be. It's usually for financial exploitation. It's usually all about the money.
Yeah.
So it could be any number of people. It could be a family member. And in fact, in most cases, 90% of the cases of a senior exploitation, it's a family member that's doing it.
Yeah. Oh,
but it could be a pastor,
right.
Or a doctor.
Yeah.
It could be, someone who's maybe homeless and they're on Medicaid, and it's a doctor abusing those Medicaid tests.
Evil does not care if you're rich, you're poor, old, young, what. There's
straight,
evil everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scum is everywhere.
So
you're right.
When it comes to this 68-year-old, how, I don't know. Are they sending pictures? How are they?
It's not necessarily about
sex, maybe?
Sex. It's not, although there are fetishes and people will do. I mean, I
Sure.
have an internet crimes investigator on my board, and he's like, well, we could create an OnlyFans page for you. I'm like, nobody's going to want an old woman like me. And he goes, you'd be surprised. There are fetishes for everything.
Everything.
I'm like,
First of all, you're gorgeous, and you're talking about yourself like, Dawn is
pretty.
beautiful and you're fun, and so you stop talking about yourself like that. So
I just turned 60 this year.
Hello. So did I. Yeah. Look at us,
be
too.
sisters.
Yeah.
So it could be any, and I hate to ask this question, but I want to know, and I think people should know, what does it mean then for the 3-month-old? What are they doing?
I don't want to know. I can't even ask.
Okay. Okay. And that's fine. I
read about it, and it's just, I don't even want to articulate the things that are done to these babies.
Horrific.
And
that's just
a part of me hopes that it's just the babies being sold on the black market, but then what happens? I don't know. I can't let my brain go there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I live in a very dark world anyway with the victims that I work with and the horror stories that they live with.
Right.
I lose sleep over some of those stories already. I can't even imagine what happens to a 3-month-old or a 5-year-old.
So,
but I
Dawn,
can tell you that most of the victims that I work with have all started with some kind of a sexual abuse as a child at the age of 5 or 8 or 9. It usually starts, and that affects their self-esteem.
Absolutely,
And there's nobody that has their back.
Right.
To watch out for them, to guide them.
And they're struggling internally already.
Absolutely. And so then they turn to drugs because it masks that pain.
And that's where drugs and alcohol and all that.
And all of that plays a
and
part
now you're
into
addicted,
this.
and now they need money.
Yeah.
So
it's such a vicious cycle, it
Yes.
sounds like. How are you taking care of your mental health? Because you brought up a good subject, or you just brought that up about you live in a dark world already. How do you take care of your mental health and to help others?
Well, I get my hair and my nails done.
All right. We love it. but you know what I mean? Because that it has to be really, just really.
I know what you're saying. It's like when police officers, they're the first on the scene, and then now your shift is over, but
you just can't leave that at the door.
Still at whatever
You can't.
it was.
It's not a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
I have the most amazing husband in the entire world. I know you're both married. I'm sorry. Nobody's as good as Matthew.
Shout out to the husband.
All right. Shout it out. I love it.
He is that safe place.
Yeah.
He really is. And I have a very strong faith, and my church is awesome.
Wonderful.
So
That's good.
I have that. And my father, my dad was a pastor, and he actually worked in a prison for 35 plus years as a chaplain.
Prison ministry stuff. That's all.
Yeah,
that's
Joy
so
Ministries
interesting.
was my parents, and my dad passed 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. But so this, working in the work that I do, especially in the jail, we do a lot of work in our jails here in Walworth County with the victims that are incarcerated, and it's it's kind of all I know in that regard. But I started years ago. I went through a very difficult time, and there were other women in my church who were also going through very similar things. And we started a small group, and we called it Never Alone. And we worked through a book called Healing the Heartbreak of Divorce. And it was a great book to go through. And I had like 13 women who were part of this group, and they all had very similar stories to me. I'm not going to go into details, but I had very strong shoulders, shall we say, and even took in an abused woman who ended up living with me for 2 months.
Wow.
She needed an emergency place to stay. We don't have anything here. So I took her in for 2 months, and then she thought she was my roommate. I thought, no.
Okay.
That's not how this works.
Yeah.
But she's struggles, every day is still a struggle, but it is when you're in an abusive situation like that, where you're terrified for your life.
I was just going to say they're terrified to escape or get out of this. And I was going to ask you, let's go back to that 13-year-old girl that we kind of made up. And now, she's done everything, and now she got the cell phone, and he bought her the jeans and all this. And And now she's like, I got to get out of this.
Yeah.
Now, does she get beaten? Does she get smuggled? Does she what happens now?
Every situation is different. Hopefully somebody has recognized this and has reached out so that they can get help. So the first thing we do is get them into trauma-informed care counseling.
Okay.
With a child, we don't have a lot of options. There aren't many safe houses available for our youth. Mm-hmm. We have one in Tennessee, but if you don't have the right insurance, you can't get in.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So there's not a lot available for our youth. So we have to really do what we can here locally.
Okay.
We have Rogers, we have Lad Lake. Those are some options. It's not ideal, but if in an extreme case, it might be all we have.
And then that basically protects that minor against.
My advocates, I have a care team of advocates that we have formed just over 2 years ago to catch the victims that kind of fall through the cracks that aren't eligible for assistance elsewhere in local agencies because of the grants that they receive. They're not eligible.
Okay.
So we have assisted 87 victims that have fallen through the cracks in the 2 years that we launched our care team.
That's awesome.
And I have 28 advocates, 4 of them are men, and 12 of those victims were men.
And that's we didn't even touch on that yet. You always think that it's a man abusing a woman, trying to sell the woman because other men out there want to get off on whatever on a woman. But it's men being sold too, and men being told to do certain things. And
right.
Oh my gosh.
I have a very dear friend, and I don't want to take her story away from her because she speaks all over the state of Wisconsin. She is on the Wisconsin Task Force for Anti-Human Trafficking. I don't want to take her story from her, but Lisa, she lost her son. He was being trafficked, and he was killed by his traffickers through the drugs and the overdose at 17.
Oh my heart. Oh my gosh.
And he was trafficked in Madison and Iowa, and it was it's just, she is an amazing lady, and I'm very proud to call her my friend.
Boy, and just for a mother to realize that and
she
not be able to help or save your child, and that just is so heartbreaking.
I know. It's like I don't even know.
I don't even know the words to.
Right.
So I have a gentleman who's in his mid-30s who came over to America for a better life, and he met this woman through a dating app. Thought this was going to be a new beginning for him, a new start in life, and he was really excited to come to America. And she was 29 years older than him. And as soon as he arrived, she took his documentation away, and he couldn't drive. He had no control over anything.
They're stuck then.
And he was stuck.
He was stuck.
And he didn't know where he was. He didn't know how to get home or anything.
And she's probably, and they probably obviously lie to them too if they're in that situation.
Oh, I think there's probably a little bit of both there. I'm not saying that this is completely one-sided, but I can't share too much detail on that because it's still ongoing. But it's a lot of cultural differences as well.
Sure,
There's
right.
some major culture because he's from an African nation, and so if you can imagine the cultural differences are huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to play in it as well. But she did admit in court that she was behind a lot of the things that were happening to him. But it's just, we tried to work with him. We even made arrangements to get him back to his home country. But we had to get some other things taken care of first, and it just gets more and more complicated every time.
Yeah.
It's just so complicated. It's never easy. And each case is different from the others. They're never the same. I have a young woman that I met through the jail, and she was one of 27 women who was being trafficked. And she was sold by her boyfriend to the trafficker.
What?
That is just, that's just sick.
Oh, yeah. And so, but I wonder, okay, where did this boyfriend meet the trafficker? Like, what?
Oh, it was like so many backstories.
Yeah.
It's just it's very complicated.
Well, we had a lady like you come to our church and talk about trafficking, and it opened up. I learned a lot, and she basically said, you're not going to be able to drive anywhere and not think the cars that are on the road is somebody right now being trafficked,
being transported.
And I was like, oh, geez.
Right.
That's crazy.
When I took the training for Truckers Against Trafficking, it was like, I was driving back and forth to Minnesota. Every truck I passed, I looked to see if they had the Truckers Against Trafficking sticker on their door, because that is a safe place for a victim to go to.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. So if they see something, then they will help? Or?
Yes. So every truck I passed, I looked for that sticker, and I never saw one.
Really?
I still do. And we travel all over.
I'm going to look now.
I know,
right? I'm going to look. I'm going to be a watchdog.
No kidding. Is there anything that, how can people help? And what can we get a sticker for our cars? Or is there like...
When we first launched Join the Movement, we did window decals,
like window clings or whatever. Yeah,
window clings. And I kind of screwed it up. I did it on the outside of the window instead of the inside, and it
that's something we would do.
I've had that happen to me before.
So we should redo them. I have a couple left, and I keep looking at them thinking, I don't know if it's worth doing that again or not. They were kind of expensive. I'll have to figure that out. One of the things that we had applied for a grant that we were really hopeful we were going to get this past spring. We did not get it. But our plan for that was for me to write a toolkit for transportation industry, which I'd already started. I'd actually had someone from the FAA reach out and ask us to help do this years ago before the pandemic, and then everything got shut down again. So I wanted to go back to that and create this transportation toolkit, and then do billboards all over the county to launch that for the transportation industry, because we have 2 truck stops here now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that was what I was going to do with that grant money, but we didn't get it. And I'm so bummed.
Shoot.
And, billboards are not cheap.
No.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
We had our first, but we did a billboard in January. January is actually Anti-Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Okay.
And so we had a billboard on 12 out by Southern Lakes Church.
Yeah.
For the whole month. It was our first time doing that. It was so much fun, but it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's $1,000.
Sure. Yeah.
For 1 month. So, if I can, we had already been in touch with Lamar. They had all sorts of things that they were going to try and help us so that we could get multiple billboards.
Right.
And really soak into Walworth County what this is supposed to look like. Because it's not just the truck drivers. It is anybody who drives a car.
Yep.
Could be part of that transportation toolkit,
It's the whole thing. It's like, if you see something, say something.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
So one thing I want to ask you about is AI, and how big is that becoming, or I'm sure it already is big in the human trafficking, and how are you combating that?
That is a big problem. And the problem we have already with social media is that our legislators can't even keep up with what's going on with social media. Now we bring AI into the mix. And you've got apps like Snapchat. Snapchat, if you wanted to utilize the AI in their app, you had to pay extra for that, right? You had to pay a monthly fee. Now they've changed it. And if you want to remove it, you have to pay that monthly fee.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And the problem with AI is that it may respond with something that is inappropriate for our youth to hear. And I can give you a really great example on how that works.
Yeah.
So my ex-husband's from England, and he, when we first came here to America, he had to go and buy some office supplies. So he went to Walmart. And he's in the office supply aisle, and he's looking for what he's looking for what he needs. And there's an elderly woman stocking the shelves, and she just said, "Can I help you? What are you looking for?" And he goes, "I'm looking for a rubber." And she said, "Well, she turned 50 Shades of Red," and said, "You're looking in the wrong place. You might want to go to the pharmacy." He goes, "No, I'm pretty sure it's here." She goes, "No, I'm pretty sure it's not."
Yeah.
And realizing at that point that in America, a rubber is an eraser.
Yep.
Oh.
I was just gonna say, or a napkin. Now, is this a napkin that we
that's
right.
a serviette?
A serviette. I was just going to say, But now napkin, what does a napkin mean to you? Does that mean a napkin that's sitting to you at your dinner place, or is that a personal,
It's a sanitary napkin.
It's an
Exactly.
intimate,
Yes.
so, you know.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely. So, and I use that as an example because AI cannot differentiate between that phrase, the rubber, which is innocent enough as an eraser.
Right.
It would consider that to be something completely different. And that's what AI is like. So, you've got a child asking AI for something and you have no idea what's going to come back.
Yeah.
And, speaking of child, what is the average age of a child's first introduction to pornography? Any ideas?
I have no idea.
I'm just trying to think of when I first, saw something that was like, whoa, at 10, but it's probably younger now.
It's 8.
Yeah.
8. And if we don't talk to them about what they have seen, they're going to find it, because the thing that those cell phones provide us is everything.
Oh, yeah.
They have access to everything. And if we don't provide them with the answers they're looking for, they will go and they will look for those answers in the world. And they may not like what they see. And that could even start an addiction problem.
Right.
Yeah.
At a young age. So we have to be a safe place for our kids to come and talk to us.
Yep.
We have to do it without showing shock
Right.
or stunned.
Or making fun of something.
Right.
Or
brushing it off.
Right.
We have to listen. I have a really dear friend who I met through Rotary. His name is Ben Mearns. And he used to have a radio show on NPR for many years. And he is an amazing speaker. And he talks about how we can tell our story. And he gave me a phrase that I use all the time. Everybody has a story. They're just waiting for someone to listen.
That's very true.
Yep.
And that's the same with our kids. If they see something, they don't know who to talk to. They don't know who they can trust. Be that safe place. And if their friends don't have a safe place, be a safe place for their friends too.
Yep.
Powerful information today on Bold and Blonde.
Yeah, no kidding. And just a learning experience.
Exactly.
Opening your eyes and opening the eyes out there to the listeners. And how can people find out more? How can they donate? How can they help your foundation?
So Join the Movement is a 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay.
We are totally privately funded. So all of the work that we do is money that's raised. We do fundraising opportunities. We have fundraising opportunities. Like when DOS Fest was here, we ran the bingo. And that was that was a big fundraiser for us.
Sure.
We have a garden party coming up in June 23rd at Rosewood.
Okay.
That is just a smaller fundraiser. But the speaker we have coming is Deacon Steve, and he just retired from the Franciscan Peacemakers in Milwaukee.
Okay.
He has been in this industry for 29 years.
Wow.
And he is one of my favorite people, and he is going to come and speak at our event. I'm so excited. I have one of the women that we have worked with and helped is actually in one of his safe houses at the Franciscan Peacemakers. And I got to see her at his retirement celebration.
Oh, okay.
And she looked so good.
Yeah.
She looked healthy.
Yeah.
Still a struggle, but she's doing really well.
So much better. That's
But
good.
he's going to come and share. And then we have live music with Mark and Gretch Haladish. I don't know if you know who they are, but
No.
they are. I've known Mark since I was a teenager.
Okay.
For a very, very long time. Our kids even went to preschool together.
I mean, I think you had Melody and I at brunch buffet and mimosa and bloody.
Absolutely.
Yes. You know.
Absolutely.
Twist our arm.
There was an event when you first, I don't know, it was when we were back on the morning show.
Sure.
And I was going to go to, I think you put one on in Elkhorn, I believe it was.
We did Dancing for New Beginning. We did that here at the.
Okay. I just remember I couldn't go because I ended up in the hospital, but I was so mad because I wanted to learn so much more about this at that time, and I still do obviously, but I was so mad that I couldn't attend.
We had our
that
first
event.
gala was at Lake Lawn Resort, and that was 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
And then we did another. Our second gala was this past January. We did that at the Riviera in Lake Geneva. Oh, what a beautiful place.
It is so beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
And we had, it was called Break the Ice, and it snowed and ice that night. It was really beautiful.
Perfect timing.
Perfect.
It was a bit nasty driving home, but it was okay. So now we're doing the garden party fundraiser in June, just because we have to keep up the momentum. The work is, The Sound of Freedom came out last year. And even though that movie didn't really reflect what we see here in America, it brought that awareness of what it is.
Yeah.
And I have never been busier. I have, the fall and the winter were the busiest I have ever been. And even just last week, it's like, okay, I'm done. That's a wrap. I need a break. Give me the weekend off.
Right. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So we have been, I speak all over the Midwest, not just here in Walworth County. I'm all over the state of Wisconsin.
Good.
I'm in Minnesota,
Good.
Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan.
Good.
And I do it in person. I do it via Zoom. I'm all over the place.
Good.
And, have car will travel.
Yes.
Excellent.
We need you.
Yes, we do.
To tell people what's going on and to warn them and everything. So,
And get
well,
the
I got to
word out.
see Sunday, June 23rd. I think I'm free. Let me know if you are. Let's go.
I know.
And
I would
think
love
Julie,
to.
Our friend Julie had put that she wants to go to this
Love.
too.
Wonderful.
Julie Strasser. You might know that name. Everybody knows Julie Strasser.
Everybody does.
We love our
Everybody
Julie.
does.
But yeah,
Exactly.
so we'll see if we can make it that day. That would be a good time.
And Dawn, what is your website?
It's www.jtme.org.
Excellent.
My email is dawn@jtme.org.
Okay, perfect.
And I am, email me, call me, text, whatever.
sure.
Any
you
other
have any
information
questions?
that you would like to add? I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no.
any other information that you'd like to get out before we wrap up today?
Yeah.
So if you want to call your school and say you need to have Dawn in our school to talk to our kids, that would be great.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
But even if you want to invite me to your house and invite your friends and family over for an informal gathering, I will do that too. Whatever.
That's a good idea.
That is a great idea, especially with schools.
Yeah.
We'll be getting out for summer break.
And real quick, my goddaughter, she's 6, so she'll be going into 2nd grade. That's not too young to talk to him, right?
We actually have a program called Who Should I Trust? And
Okay.
it's designed for parents of children between the ages of 2 and 12.
Okay.
And who they can trust, because it's no longer stranger danger. It is people that they know. And so this book is phenomenal. It's written by a dear friend of mine who's in Michigan. And she recommends that you make photocopies of the book, and each child has their own. And it really goes through who is real in their life right now, and updated every year, because they have different people in their life every year. So you have 3 kids. You got a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 12-year-old. They all have different people in their life, right?
Sure.
From
That's so true.
daycare to school to coaches.
Yeah.
Right.
And what if you might be a family that sits at home and has dinner together every night, but is the TV on in the background? Does that 2-year-old see J-Lo on their TV every day and think, oh, that's somebody I know?
Right.
Not realizing
Right.
that it's not.
It's somebody you're never going to meet, and somebody, yeah. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it's a really great program. Who should I
Yeah.
trust? I actually did that for the MOPS group here in Walworth County.
Okay.
Very nice.
It was really cool to be a part of that program, because I was one of the 2 people that brought MOPS into Walworth County 27 years ago.
We're talking to a mover and a shaker here. I love it.
I love it too.
I knew you were anyway, but
Dawn Fiedler.
very much
Get
so.
to know Dawn, remember that name, and this was good.
absolutely. Please definitely check out the website, and maybe we'll see you at the Garden Party Brunch on Sunday, June 23rd. For tickets, head on over to the website. And Dawn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about this important subject.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And just so you know, our toolkits, all of the toolkits that we provide are on our website, free to download.
Oh, good.
And share those links. They are free to anybody. We don't charge. Share it. Share
Okay.
the information.
Perfect. I have a feeling we're going to have Dawn on again.
I believe so.
I feel like
think
this is,
that we should. I think we should.
Yeah.
Anytime.
I would love to come back. You guys are a hoot.
Yeah, we are. No, I'm just kidding.
This is so much fun. It's not even like,
It's just
just so
chatting.
natural.
It's just friends
Yep.
and
It's just
learning.
natural.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
And that's going to wrap up this edition on this podcast of Bold and Blonde. And as always, thanks for shopping at Melody Mart.
See ya.